Hi there, my name is Megan and I am the co-founder of Developing Readers Academy. Me and my other half, Laura, are on a mission to help every single child become a strong and confident reader because we believe every single child on this planet can become a confident reader and deserves the right education. Today, we are going to talk about something that is not super easy to talk about. It's not super easy to think about, but it's important. It's important to be aware of the problems so that we can help them. If you're not aware, or if you think this is normal when it's not, the problems are going to continue to happen over and over and over again. So let's go ahead and shed some light on some problems so that we can help our children become strong and confident readers. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the pillars of our Aspire reading program. It's the pillar that most people think of when they think of strong reading. We are on a mission to create strong readers. One of the pillars is skills. The skills that your child has is going to impact how they are as a reader. And you're probably going, well, duh, Megan. That is like the most obvious thing you could say. Yes, the skills they have impacts who they are as a reader and how they're doing with reading. And just to go over quickly, what are the 5 pillars of reading that the National Reading Panel says we need to be a strong reader? You need phonological awareness. You need phonics. You need vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. Those are the 5 elements of skills that your child needs to be a strong reader. Oftentimes we have kids that are lacking skills in their early reading, and this is holding them back. And what I want to talk about today is not necessarily what those skills are. We'll get to that at a later time. Today I want to talk about how is it manifesting? What behaviors are your children exhibiting that could be a flag that they are struggling with their early reading skills? Because some of these behaviors might not appear like, oh, they need help with their reading skills. It might manifest as something completely different. So it's important to be aware of this so that if your child at home or if your students in your classroom are showing these things, you can recognize it and act on it. So Laura and I, we both have been reading interventionists. We both have been classroom teachers. So between us, we've worked with thousands of kids. There are 3 common manifestations of what might come if a child is lacking in their skills. We have a compensator, an avoider, and a self-deprecator. So the compensator, let's start there. This is actually coined by David Kilpatrick. If you haven't read his Equipped for Reading Success book, it's really great. It's a really, really great book. And what he says in that is we have something called compensators, and these are our kids who have higher levels of language comprehension, but their reading doesn't match. All right, and I'll actually do the exact quote from him because I don't want to butcher this. I don't want to leave you with a butchered quote. So I'm just going to read what he said. He said, compensating students have strong language abilities, but have a weakness in one of the key skills needed for reading, usually phonemic proficiency. This prevents them from attaining reading comprehension skills consistent with their language comprehension skills. So their language comprehension skills are here, their reading is here. That's what he's saying. Compensators' reading comprehension is typically within average range, but well below their language skills. This means compensators rarely get flagged for extra help. They use their intellectual strengths to cover up their weaknesses. I look back at my time teaching and I have so many faces just coming up for me. This kid was a compensator. This kid was a compensator. This kid was, because they had such strong language skills but struggled to learn how to read. And this could be a sign of a compensator. This could be a sign that you have a child who is lacking some of the foundational skills and they're trying to cover it up. Let's talk about symptoms for a minute. So what are you looking for? Now that we know what it is, what are you looking for to see if your child is a compensator? Reading is going to be a chore for compensators because they have to use a lot of effort, a lot of energy just to lift the words off the page. So it is a chore, it is not fun. School becomes a bad place. They're discouraged. They're frustrated with school. They might say negative things about school because it's really exhausting. It's exhausting for them to have to try to compensate all the time for the skills that they're lacking. A lot of times, behavior issues start to arise. They start acting out. They start doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, And a lot of times the behavior issues are actually flagged, and then come to find out there's something underneath the surface causing these behavior issues, which we could do a whole nother conversation on that, on the behavior issues. Are they actually them trying to be naughty, or are they trying to mask and hide something? And for most behavior issues, something is trying to be hidden there. And for our compensators, they're trying to hide the fact that it is so much effort for them to be an average reader. Because they're coming across, they're not being flagged for reading, because they're average, they're fitting in with everybody else. But they have the potential and the skills to be way higher than they are. But they're missing those, they have gaps, they have holes in those early skills. It's holding them back and making reading a chore. One thing that comes to mind when I think about a compensator, and I think in metaphors a lot. One metaphor I think of is, let's say you have a searing headache, just a stabbing, sharp pain in your head every night at 7 p.m. And what you do to compensate is take an aspirin. Just take an aspirin. It dulls it. It's still there. It still aches and pains. Comes back the next day like clockwork. You just keep taking aspirin. And it makes it bearable. It's okay, but it never really goes away. That is what's happening to these kiddos, is they're covering up and they're choosing an option that isn't really solving the problems that they have. It's just helping them get by. Versus if you're having searing headache, you go to the doctor, you get a specific prescription, or prescribes you something that's really going to make it so it goes away. So guess what? You don't even have to take aspirin because you took care of the problem. That's what we need to do for our kids. We need to take care of the problem. If they're having a problem learning how to read, let's not just hand them aspirin and say, you'll be fine. I know you're still going to have issues tomorrow, but let's figure out what's going on and let's solve that problem. Another thing to be looking for if your child is struggling with reading is to look at the avoiders. It really says it right in the name, the avoiders. Avoiders avoid reading at all costs. So these are our kids who magically just have to go to the bathroom during reading time, or magically they just need a drink of water if you're trying to get them to read with you at home. They just, I cannot read because my throat is just so dry. I'm so dry, I can't read. I know, yes, I can again think of a lot of kids that would do this. They are doing anything they can to avoid reading. These kids often get labeled as lazy, or they want to take the easy way out, and they're just, at the end of the day, these kids are trying to protect themselves. And I would say that for all three of these that we're talking about, the compensator, the avoider, and the self-deprecator, they're trying to protect themselves because they're embarrassed, or they're scared, or they just feel like they have a very low self-worth. So by avoiding even trying, they're protecting themselves. So it's different than the compensator, because the compensator, they're trying and they're appearing as average and they're okay. These guys are just like, nope, not gonna do it. I'm avoiding it. Nope. You're not gonna grow your skills if you're constantly just avoiding and trying not to do it. But if they're already lacking skills, this is like an evil cycle they get into, because they're lacking the skills, they're avoiding it, so now they're lacking more skills. And it's this cycle that's gonna go over and over and over and over again, because they're never really getting the help they need. They're never filling those gaps and making it better. It's just getting worse and worse. One, I can remember specifically a PD. And if you're not in the teacher world, PD is professional development trainings that all teachers have to do. They're always very riveting, but just kidding. Some really are, and some really are not. But anyways, there was one specific one where they just told us, I don't even know what the activity was. I don't even know. They said we were doing this activity. You weren't allowed to be with anyone who was from your school. You had to go intermingle with other people. And I just felt really uncomfortable. I felt really like, I do not want to do this. I don't even know what they were asking us to do. All I knew is I wanted to get out of there. So what did I do? I told Laura, poor Laura gets all these, I ate something bad for lunch. I'll be back. So I literally went and sat in the bathroom for like 20 minutes, pretending that I ate something bad for lunch, because I knew no one was going to ask about that. Like, okay, this is safe. No one's going to care. Like, no one's going to ask me anything about that. So, all right. So then I come back and I missed the entire activity, which was my plan. So actually my plan worked. But I look back at that and I think, wow, maybe I missed something really good. Maybe that was an activity that would have really pushed me. Yes, it would have pushed me out of my boundaries, but maybe it would have made me a stronger teacher. Maybe it made me a better leader or more compassionate. I missed something because I avoided it. I missed growth because it was easier in the moment for me to be happy in the moment than to do something a little uncomfortable that could help me grow. And that's what's happening with our kids. They're wanting that ease in the moment, like I can avoid embarrassment right now, but they're making it harder for themselves in the long run. And we see this as parents and as teachers. Every time they avoid, they're actually setting themselves further back because other kids are growing and they're staying right where they are. So that's why avoiding is a dangerous thing, because it's going to lead to this cycle of it gets worse and worse and worse. Let's talk about our third way that it might show if your child has gaps or holes in their foundational skills. It might show as a self-deprecator. And this is exactly what it sounds like. So these are the kiddos that call themselves stupid. These are the kiddos that are going to say they can't. I can't do this. This is too hard. I can't do this. I think a fixed mindset a lot is a self-deprecator. Everyone else is better than me. I can't do this. I'm stupid. And this one makes me really sad because it's showing our kids self-worth and their self-image and how they see themselves in the mirror. And it's not great. I think if I had a kindergarten student, her name, I'm gonna call her Lila. And Lila was just this wonderful girl. She was a kindergartner, so she was 5-6 years old. She just had this curly blonde hair. She was always dressed to the nines, just the cutest little shoes, big smile, big dimples, just a sweetheart. And just her kindness just was amazing. She would smile and light up the room. She was one of those kids. Lila came into school knowing no letters, no letter names, sounds, not even the ones in her name. And Lila, she didn't know. Kindergartners don't really know at the beginning of the year because they don't have anything to compare it to academically. But halfway through the year, I was her reading interventionist. She'd come to work on reading with me. She knew that she was behind her peers. She was very aware of it because she would come in and she would say every day, I can't do this, I'm too stupid. And at first it was kind of nonchalant, like, I'm too stupid, I can't do this. And as the year progressed, as it got closer and closer to the end of kindergarten, it turned into tears. She would come in crying and upset and not wanting to work and was kind of showing avoiding, but she really put it on herself that she couldn't do this because her brain was deficient, is what she came across as. It wasn't. She was a very smart girl. She could tell me everything about horses and dogs. She could carry on conversations. She could tell amazing jokes. She was a smart girl, but she was lacking skills that she needed. And we were working on it, but she was one that needed more time. A lot of signs of dyslexia for her. But it really turned her into a self-deprecator. And it's something we had to work very hard on, because as soon as you have that pattern in your head of telling yourself that you're stupid or that you can't, it's very hard to break out of that pattern. Very hard as a teacher to watch your students go through that. It's so hard. And as a parent, it's icky. It's icky. I just have to say it how it is. It's icky. So those are our three. This was not like happy hunky-dory, but again, like I said, it's so important to be aware. Do you have kids that are compensators? Are they language skills here, reading skills here? Do you have kids who avoid reading at all costs? Like it is the plague. Like keep me away from reading. Blah. Do you have kids that are self-deprecators? Do they tell you, I can't do this, I'm too stupid? And I don't like saying I'm too stupid. I'm not 0% saying these kids are stupid. They're not. But that's how they feel about themselves. It's the mirror they have on themselves that's holding them back. Very, very important to be aware of this, because the only way we can help them is if you go, okay, they're showing signs of this. There's behaviors, there's actions they're taking. Could it be that they're missing some skills that's holding them back? And we strongly believe that if we can target the skills that they need, your kids are going to transform as readers and into what we call ninja readers or ninja readers. We can transform your kids into ninja readers and this is pillar one. I'm going to say this, there's 3 pillars. This is one of the 3 pillars that we have in our Aspire program. One is skills, making sure we are targeting the correct skills that they need to help them grow. Because if you're targeting the wrong skills, it's like you break your toe and the doctor gives you, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, so this is not going to be a great example, but let's say you break your toe and the doctor gives you a shot for salmonella. I don't know, something like that. Do they have shots for salmonella? Oh gosh, this is a terrible example. You know what I mean though? You have to figure out what is it that they need so that you can target it and really have a roadmap put out there for you to get you on the right path. That's what we do in our Aspire program. But make sure you find something that can figure out, is my child missing some skills? How can I target these skills and get them more confident in those areas? And you are going to see them shifting out of these identities because they can shift. They don't always have to be a compensator. They don't always have to be an avoider. They don't always have to be a self-deprecator. We can help get our kids out of those identities and into the identity of what I like to call a ninja reader. Ninja reader is the opposite of all those. They have all the skills they need to figure out words and to spell words and all that amazing things. And your children can get there. I know it from the core of my being, from the bones in my body. Your children can be strong, confident readers. Your children can be strong, confident readers. It takes time, it takes practice, And you know what? It might take them a little bit of work because that's what learning to read is. It's work. We got to reconfigure parts of your brain. And this is, oh my gosh, I could do so many different conversations around this. But today, what I want you to walk away with is thinking, is my child exhibiting any of these 3 characteristics from a compensator, an avoider, or a self-deprecator? And start thinking about what you can do to help them. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. We're going to be talking a lot about this. Make sure you're on our email list. And if you're not sure how to do that, reach out to us on Instagram because we'll get you set up. And if you want to chat more about this, if any of this really hit home with you and you're like, oh my gosh, my child is one of these, or oh my gosh, connect with us on Instagram. You can just DM us the word symptoms, and we're going to know where you came from. And then we're going to chat more about what you're seeing, what you're noticing, and what you can do to help your child. So thank you so much, and keep reading.